Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yasodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Yasodanandana Vraja Janarandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jaya Om Vijupad Paramahamsa Parivajakacharya Ashvatara Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sikho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kungiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Jamunamai Ki Jai. Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Madam Mohan Ki Jai. Sri Sri Gaunitai Ki Jai. Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to the Samarivatis. All glories to Sri Guru Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschataridatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, fourth skanda, ninth chapter, sloka number 65. Uttanapadaha Rajarishi Prabhavam Tanayasya Tam Srutva Drishtva Adbhuta Tamam Papede Vismayam Param. Uttanapado Rajashi Prabhavam Tanayasyatam Sudva Drishtva Bhutatamam Papede Vismayam Param. Uttanapado Rajashi Prabhavam Tanayasyatam Sudva Drishtva Bhutatamam Papede Vismayam Param. Uttanapado Rajashi Prabhavam Tanayasyatam Prabhavam Tanayasyatam Srutva Drishtva Bhutatamam Papede Vismayam Param. Sri Sri Gaunitai ki jai, Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan ki jai, Sri Sri Jagannath Subhadra Baladev ki jai. Vaishnavis, Uttanapadaha, King Uttanapada, Raja Rishihi, great saintly king Prabhavam influence Tanayasya of his son Tam, that Shrutva, hearing, Drishtva, seeing, Adbhuta, wonderful, Tamam, in the superlative degree, Prapede, happily felt, Vismayam, wonder, Param, supreme. Translation. The saintly king Uttanapada, hearing of the glorious deeds of Dhruva Maharaj, and personally seeing also how influential and great he was, felt very satisfied, for Dhruva's activities were wonderful to the supreme degree. Please repeat. The saintly king Uttanapada, hearing of the glorious deeds of Dhruva Maharaj, and personally seeing also how influential and great he was, felt very satisfied, for Dhruva's activities were wonderful to the supreme degree. Purport by Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When Dhruva Maharaj was in the forest executing his austerities, his father Uttanapada heard everything about his very wonderful activities. Although Dhruva Maharaj was the son of a king and was only 5 years old, he went to the forest and executed devotional service under strict austerity. Therefore, his acts were all wonderful, and when he came back home naturally, because of his spiritual qualifications, he became very popular among the citizens. He must have performed many wonderful activities by the grace of the Lord. No one is more satisfied than the father of a person who is credited with glorious activities. Maharaj Uttanapad was not an ordinary king, he was a Rajarshi, a saintly king. Formerly, this earth was ruled by one saintly king only. Kings were trained to become saintly. Therefore, they had no other concern than the welfare of the citizens. These saintly kings were properly trained, and as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita also, the sense of God, or the yoga system of devotional service, known as Bhagavad Gita, was spoken to the saintly king of the sun planet, and gradually it descended to the Kshatriya kings, who were generated from the sun and the moon. If the head of the government is saintly, certainly the citizens become saintly, and they are very happy because both their spiritual and physical needs and hankerings are satisfied. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Sarakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakam Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishnavanu Sude Devi Paramami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is the chapter entitled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home, and this is about the end of the chapter. Dhruva Maharaj already come back to his palace along with all his family members, his father, Maharaj Uttanapada, his two mothers, Suniti, Suruchi, his brother, Uttama, and all the citizens also welcoming Dhruva Maharaj back to his palace kingdom. He is now not just like ordinary boy as he was before, but he has become now a saintly person, having had the darshan of Lord Vishnu and special blessings of Lord Vishnu, and after receiving the blessings and being given a great boon by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to rule the kingdom of his father, Uttanapada, 36,000 years. So he is now getting ready, and as a saintly personality, he is attracting the attention of everyone. Everybody came to know about the wonderful activities of Dhruva while in the forest in Vrindavan, Mathura, on the bank of the Yamuna. And everybody is struck with wonder about this small boy who will in the future rule the kingdom as a great devotee of the Lord. So his father also, Uttanapada, is very happy to again have the association of his son, and especially now that his son is showing extraordinary qualities that will make the whole dynasty very bright. Just like in a forest, trees may be ordinary, but if there is one tree that has a wonderful fragrance, just like a sandalwood tree in the midst of a small forest, then the forest itself becomes very attractive, and the fragrance is spreading everywhere, and all the trees are benefited. So here, Dhruva Maharaj, the saintly personality, is going to spread his fragrance throughout the kingdom, all the citizens, and not only family members, but everybody else will be benefited by his association. So the purport is stressing on the point, as in the shloka it is mentioned, Uttanapado Rajarshi. Uttanapada is described as a Rajarshi, means saintly king. You have Devarishi, just like Narada Muni, Devarishi, Rajarshi, Maharaj Parikshit, and many other kings in the antiquity are glorified as Rajarshi. And you have Brahmarishis. Among the Brahmanas, self-realized persons, those who become specially qualified, they are called Brahmarishis. So this qualification of Rajarshi is very significant, and Srila Prabhupada gave a lot of importance to it. As mentioned here in the purport, formerly the entire Earth planet was ruled by one single Rajarishi. He was so qualified that he was able to rule the entire Earth planet, and everybody was happy about that. How he was ruling, the example is also given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how sometimes Parikshit Maharaj used to go around his kingdom to see for himself what was happening, how the citizens were living, were they happy, were there any problems, and so on. Everybody is engaged in pious activities, in devotional service to Lord Krishna. All the Brahmanas and the Vaishyas and Shudras are properly engaged in their occupation. This was seen by the king at that time by going on a tour of his kingdom. So Maharaj Parikshit, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam, saw once a Shudra beating a bull. So he became very much concerned with this misbehavior, greatly sinful activity. And he wanted to kill at once this sinful person. But that Shudra just simply surrendered unto King Parikshit. And King Parikshit did not kill him because he is already surrendered. So he told the Shudra, that a sinful person, you cannot live in my kingdom. You have to go somewhere in a very isolated place where nobody is there, and you can stay there. You cannot stay here. So that was the punishment given by the saintly king Maharaj Parikshit, Rajarshi. So in this way, Rajarshi is exercising his saintly power, not material power as we see nowadays. The politicians are engaged in exercising their material powers. They are not Rajarishis. Actually, they should be Rajarishis. So Srila Prabhupada was very much concerned with the situation in the age of Kali, where the countries are ruled by politicians who are not saintly. And Srila Prabhupada had a plan. Prabhupada's mission is very vast. It encompasses all aspects of the society to enlighten everybody with Krishna consciousness. And one aspect of Srila Prabhupada's mission was to enlighten the politicians who are supposed to be Rajarshis. For instance, Srila Prabhupada instructed Tejas Prabhu. Tejas Prabhu was the first president in New Delhi, ISKCON New Delhi, in 1970-71, was established. And so he told Tejas Prabhu that these MPs who are gathered in New Delhi, ruling the entire country, all of them should become devotees of the Lord. So you go to all of them, first of all, enroll them as life members, and then continue to enlighten them so that they'll become devotees of the Lord. That was a specific instruction given by Srila Prabhupada at that time to the New Delhi temple president. And he did very well. Tejas Prabhu enrolled more than 100 MLAs and MPs in New Delhi as life members, and many of them also became devotees of the Lord. So, Srila Prabhupada also met many important personalities in the field of politics, just like he met before going to America, what's his name? Lal Bahadur Shastri, yes, presenting the Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, afterwards, coming back to India, Srila Prabhupada also met Indira Gandhi, and while in Chennai, Madras, he met some of the important politicians, what's his name? Rajarshi. Anyway, So that was one of the aspects of Prabhupada's mission, that all the important rulers should be contacted. They should know about our society. Not merely that they should become life members, but they should also become devotees of the Lord. Here in Hyderabad, we also pursued this instruction to some extent, meeting the chief ministers. Some of them were not favorable. Anti Ramarao, not to mention his name. And but P.V. Narasimha became a life member and became very much favorable to our mission. Even when he was Prime Minister of India, he was also very favorable to ISKCON. So like that, important politicians, they should all become devotees of the Lord. Because, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, this instruction given by Lord Krishna to Arjuna is specifically meant for rulers, Raja Rishis. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Why did he choose Arjuna to become the recipient of such an important spiritual message, the essence of all the Vedas? Because Lord Krishna knew very well that when the king is a devotee of the Lord, when the head of state is a devotee of the Lord, then everybody will become also have a chance to develop Krishna consciousness. So therefore, Bhaktosim Sakacheti Rahasyam Hetaluttamam. Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna because because you are my dear friend. And Sakacheti Rahasyam, what is it? Bhaktosi me Sakacheti. Because you are my devotee. So you are Krishna conscious and you are my very dear friend. Therefore, I am teaching you this Rahasyam Yetaluttamam, this most confidential knowledge. So that is how the Bhagavad Gita has been given to us. And Lord Krishna says that, as Prabhupada quotes in the purport, that at the very beginning, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken to the Sun God. Imam vivasvate yogam bhaktavan aham avyayam. Vivasvan manave praha manu riksha kave bravit. The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna spoke this message to Vivasvan, the Sun God. And later on, Vivasvan spoke the same message to Manu, his son, and Manu again to his son Ikshvaku. So Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita commentary mentioned a little bit of the history of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Roughly, Lord Krishna spoke to Vivasvan about 2 million years ago, according to calculation. And gradually, then the same message of Bhagavad Gita was given by Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajashayo Vidu Sakale Neha Mata Yogo Nashta Parantapa. So this message is transmitted according to Parampara system. Evam Parampara Praptam Imam Rajashayo Vidu. So the importance of being a Rajarshi is specifically mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This is what Lord Krishna wants, that the head of state should be Rajarshi. And the message should be given by disciplic succession in that manner, from one head to the next head. In this way, the message should come down to everyone. So, In this way, we understand, especially now today, Vijay Dasami, that's also a very relevant Leela of Lord Ramchandra, how he made the same statement that the head of state should be a Rajarshi, not a demon. Demons are not meant to rule the kingdom. So, Vinashaya Chadushkritam, Sansthapanartana. So, in this way, Lord Krishna comes from time to time to eliminate the demons and to establish dharma and to protect the devotees of the Lord. So, today we remember how Lord Ramchandra went to Sri Lanka and destroyed the rule of Ravana and established Vibhishana. Vibhishana was suspected by Hanuman and others to be also of a demoniac nature because he was of the same family and he had been constantly associated with Ravana. But when Lord Ramchandra, after killing Ravana, then Vibhishana showed his devotion to the Lord. He surrendered to the Lord. He surrendered completely to Lord Ramachandra. So Hanuman and others, then they were surprised that maybe he is showing so-called devotion. He is not a devotee. He is only out of fear. Now he cannot do anything now. He is defeated. So he is showing some surrender. He is not a devotee. He is only making a show. But Lord Ramchandra knew that Vibhishana has actually a complete change of heart. And now he became a devotee of the Lord. So he became a Rajarshi. And he was established as a king of Sri Lanka. So in this way, the next king was established in Sri Lanka. And after defeating the previous ruler, who was a demon. So this is the message that we get from the Vedic literature, especially when we hear Srimad Bhagavad Gita and how Lord Krishna killed so many demons and established the Pandavas as rulers because they were saintly. They were devotees of the Lord. So therefore they were qualified to rule. Those who were non-devotees, the Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana and others, they are not qualified because of their envious nature. Envious people cannot rule at any time. They cannot see to the welfare of the people. Only those who are completely selfless and devoted, they can look after the welfare of the public. As Prabhupada here mentioned in the purport, that formerly the kings were trained to become saintly. Therefore, they had no other concern than the welfare of the citizens. That is the characteristic of a saintly king. His only concern is the welfare of the citizens. Welfare means not only material welfare, also spiritual welfare. First of all, spiritual welfare is most essential. And along with that, naturally, material welfare also will follow. The present-day politicians, they are not concerned with the welfare of the citizens. They are concerned with their own position. They adopt a particular party. They participate in public meetings, political meetings, to gather votes. And neither the public nor the politicians are enlightened. So this democratic rule is going on in that manner, devoid of Krishna consciousness at any level. So it becomes the difficulty in Kali Yuga. People are not happy. They elect one candidate, and after electing that candidate, then he starts to rule, and they are not happy with that rule. Prabhupada many times mentioned in America how this is happening. The people voted for one candidate, and then afterward they threw him out. We don't want of him anymore. Because he has no idea how to make people happy. So the only concern is how to remain in the post. That is the only concern. So that is the problem. But in Kali Yuga, the monarchy is very difficult also. It was abolished many years ago. For instance, in France, 1789 became the year of the end of monarchy officially and the start of democracy. So what was the slogan at that time? Equality, no, my mind is not functioning properly. Equality, fraternity, and liberty. Yes. These three slogans, three motto for democratic rule, as against the monarchy rule. They are considering that in monarchy there is no equality, because you have the royal family and you have the clergy, the religious priests. They are also part of the royal family. They are protected. They get special protection from the royal family. So there is no equality. The ordinary people, they are downtrodden. They gave the example at one time. Of course, in France, there may be some deficiency in the royal rule. The example is given that there was a very big meeting. All the people, they started to protest against the royal monarchy. And they stood in front of the palace in Paris. They all came, many thousands and lakhs of people, and shouting, "We don't have any bread. Nothing to eat. No bread, no bread. We want bread." So they were asking the king and the royal family, "Please give us bread." And the king replied, "Oh, you don't have any bread? Then eat cake. You eat cake if you don't have bread." So that is the story that was circulating at that time. And when we go to the history books, when we learn in school, that is the same story that's being repeated against royal rule. They have no concern with the people in general. They are far away. They stay in big palaces, in a very opulent lifestyle. So they do not travel. They don't see what is the position in the remote villages. They have no idea. And they are assisted by ministers and such people who are ruling at the lower levels. But these people who are subordinate to the royal family, they simply pay obeisances and they praise, and they don't say anything against the that would shock and that would be unfavorable. They only bring favorable reports, nothing else than that. So that was the situation at that time. And then after this French Revolution, then many other countries also, just like in Russia, that was also in the beginning of 20th century revolution. Like this, one after another, all the countries practically. There are very few countries left with a royal rule. Very, very few. Maybe Thailand, maybe. Then also, even they are assisted by some type of democratic ruling also, side by side. So once the Prabhupada was in England, he had mentioned that this Queen Elizabeth, she will be the last queen. After that, nobody will become king or queen. That is the last queen or king in England. He made this statement because that is the situation in Kali Yuga. We cannot establish monarchy anymore because of the situation, which is quite different from earlier. But Prabhupada wanted that whoever is ruling the country, the ISKCON disciples should approach him and he should become enlightened in Krishna consciousness. So even if it is democracy, but all those who are engaged as MLAs, MLCs, MPs and ministers, all of them should know the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatham. So that is why Srila Prabhupada endeavored in that direction. So in this way, here also we see the example of Dhruva Maharaj, who is established as a head of state by King Uttanapad. King Uttanapad will ultimately resign and will leave his capital city to go to the forest as to seek self-realization and establishing his son Dhruva as a Rajarshi. So Lord Vishnu also had made that, given that blessing to Dhruva Maharaj, that you will rule your kingdom for 36,000 years. So in this way, the blessings of Lord Vishnu and the will of the Lord is being implemented very properly here in this example. The whole planet Earth will be ruled by Dhruva Maharaj for such a long period, and all citizens will be very happy because all their needs, all their wants and desires will be fulfilled spiritually and materially. There will be no demand, no revolution. So we can end here. Any other questions or comments? Hare Krishna.
This Kurukshetra war is being arranged by me. Only you, that is, Pandavas will be saved, and all others will be vanquished. The devotees should be placed on the seat so that I am having this war. And also, in this regard, Krishna's one is he came, that is, he will be taking the avatars to destroy the demons. And why this good-natured Pandavas side people also been killed in that war?
Yeah, so I mentioned, yes, that Pandavas were chosen by Lord Krishna to rule, yes. Yeah, Kauravas, those who are not devotees of Lord Krishna, they had to be killed in that battle of Kurukshetra.
This side people, Pandava side people, why they've been killed in that?
Of course, when there is a battle, then some are killed also on both sides. It is not that only one side is killed. Also from the other side also, there are many fatalities. So that is happening in the war. But those who are Kshatriyas, they are happy to be killed in the war. Like Kshatriya Dharma is like that. They are doing their duty. So those who are on the side of the Pandavas, they are fighting on the behalf of the Pandavas. And Lord Krishna was also there personally in the battle. So all the Pandavas were fighting for Lord Krishna. So even if they are killed, even at that time, then that is also very beneficial to them. They'll go to higher lokas, or they may be, liberated, fighting for Lord Krishna. So there is no problem there.
Regarding this Bhagavad Gita, we read from childhood, and people who are aware of this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita only be placed on the seat of political ruling. So that in the schools, ISKCON may approach from childhood, the management can be motivated.
Yes, yes. So Bhagavad Gita certainly should be taught in other schools. I remember that that was also our program here in this ISKCON Hyderabad, to impress upon all the school managements to make Bhagavad Gita as part of the studies, compulsory study of Bhagavad Gita for all the students. Here in Hyderabad also, I forgot to mention that we had also a program for MLAs. Here you have new MLA quarters, about 2 kilometers from here in Bashirbagh. And in the middle of the MLA quarters, there is a garden, beautiful garden. So we had arranged for a program for all MLAs to attend. It was in about 1975. And Achyutananda Swami gave a lecture. All MLA came. Those who were present at that time, they came to attend the program. It was very successful. And so one of the instructions was that, yes, to study Bhagavad Gita, to understand the message of Lord Krishna, and to disseminate these teachings everywhere throughout the entire society. So that was the reason why we had this type of programs for the MLAs, MPs, and so on. So, and school programs also should be also with that objective that Bhagavad Gita should be part of the curriculum. Just another anecdote I remember. I had arranged a program in Padmarao Nagar. There's a college there. So Hare Krishna Swami was a speaker. And so we had given all the books to the principal and to be kept in the library, and so that all the students should have opportunity to read Prabhupada's books. Now, when the program started, we started a kirtan. Then the students were there in front. There were about 500 students were there. So they started to object. No, we don't want kirtan. We want your lecture. First of all, you give lecture, then you can have kirtan if you want. So Hare Krishna Swami was very much upset. And he said, no, first we have kirtan, then we'll speak, we'll give a lecture. And the students became very upset. They said, no, we don't want kirtan, we want your lecture, we want to hear like that, your lecture. So, unfortunately, the program ended in that note. The Hare Krishna Swami said, okay, you don't want kirtan? Let's go. We don't want to be here anymore. And he left. So we have to be careful visiting these schools and colleges, not to be too much strict or to be rigid in our attitude in order to avoid this type of confrontation. So with a goodwill, and we should encourage all these educational institutions to absorb the message of Lord Krishna like that. Any other questions? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Huh?
Information regarding why chanting is necessary to reduce anxiety, fears, or tensions in the society. It can be introduced in the schools before itself to the management so that they can motivate the children. It is necessary.
All right. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.